If you're like me, then Genndy Tartakovsky was a big part of your childhood growing up. While some were out there making friends and feeling fresh air, the rest of us were inside avoiding our family screens by distracting ourselves with shows like the original Star Wars The Clone Wars, Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack. All of these great pieces of work were created by one person and their team in Genndy Tartakovsky, an established representative for American animation and a solid example of why you should never give up pursuing your art. I remember for quite a few years, shows like Samurai Jack never had a definitive conclusion, or at least a satisfying one. But with how chaotic the world is getting, there is a small artistic voice screaming out to spread creativity wherever they can. Sort of this creative resurgence in humanity brewing underneath all of the chaos. It's because of this we got to see Tartakovsky finish his works on Samurai Jack in an amazing follow-up to the series that left me breathless. But today I wanted to talk about his latest piece of work, that being Primal. And spoilers ahead, but if you haven't watched it already, you should. And here's why. When I first started this series, I assumed it was going to be a heartwarming tale about a caveman bonding with a dinosaur and exploring the prehistoric era. But as the story slowly progresses, you realize this world is very different from our own, with a blending of several different eras and times and groups of people, and the introduction of several different types of creatures escalating in danger and threat. While there is some lines within this series, it is what I would say the epitome of solid visual storytelling. Tartakovsky takes his time establishing their relationship and building it up. They don't just simply team up once and become the best of friends. They have to learn to fight together, to hunt together, to relax together, with survival being the primary reason bonding them together and avoiding a painful death to the many things that could kill you in this world. From other dinosaurs to giant cave spiders to Viking tribes and other slavers, from witches to cults to even giant mutant gorillas, this is a world seemingly destined to kill every human that inhabits it. This show is a wild ride that is extremely engaging and completely metal, with people even comparing the likes of Spear to the Doom guy. In watching the journey with Spear and Fang and where they end up at the very end of the series was honestly more emotional than I thought it would be, with an ending that was very deserved and very climactic and almost fitting for everything they faced so far. So when I heard that there would be a season 3 of the show, I figured it would be based off of the season 3 setup we got at the end of season 2. And while this season could still culminate to that point, I think it's interesting that they decided to bring our main man Spear back. One of my favorite aspects of the show is how it gets you to like a lot of these other characters and other factions. With Samurai Jack, I had a hard time connecting with anybody outside of Jack himself, but with this show, there are no real heroes or villains, there's just people that survive in many different brutal ways, with one of the best examples of this being in the Viking chieftain. While Vikings themselves are never the heroes in almost any story, they are redeemed as as mostly savage and completely capable warriors. And while we see some of the story play out through Spear and Fang's perspective, the Viking chieftain and his son return home to find their entire village and their family completely massacred. This inspires the revenge plot for the story as his son and him don armor and prepare to go after them. But I do find it interesting that this faction of Vikings seem to worship this sort of inferno demon, as by this point in the story I feel like he is the big bad of the entire plot. And when the Viking and his son end up failing to get revenge for their family, the Viking just keeps taking L after L and honestly is prepared to die. And I love how visually he's almost ascending towards the heavens before he gets dragged back down to hell by either the rage still within his heart or by the fact that he worshipped the inferno demon altogether. Either way, this fire demon reminded the chieftain why he should be so angry and bestowed upon him this power to turn into a hulking beast and actually exact his revenge, with seemingly nothing being capable of stopping him. Growing in height, strength, and having the powers to produce flames anywhere, as well as shapeshift into any form he wants, this herald of the fire demon is no easy foe to defeat, despite all of the great feats they've already accomplished so far in the story. With Fang getting burnt pretty bad, Spears absolutely loses it and charges the fire demon, and despite being set ablaze, he still tackles it right off of the cliff. At this point, still coming out on top despite essentially burning to death. This obviously angers the fire demon, who took the herald back to hell, but it did result in Spear taking some pretty fatal wounds. But thanks to the romantic relationship he formed with Mira, he was able to have some kids despite the fact he never got to see them. And Mira, along with Fang and their children, end up going off into the distance away from the village. And now with the return of season 3, it appears even in death, there's still no rest for our boy Spear. With Mira's village getting attacked and burnt to the ground, one of the villagers, who doesn't really look like one of her tribe but more like the Vikings, is able to utilize some green magic and bring Spear back from the dead. Now this green magic isn't just some new random visual storytelling they decided to pull from out of nowhere. Throughout the series, we've seen different visual representations of the type of paranormal powers that exist within this world, with red and orange obviously representing the flames of the fire demon, and green representing the Kreen witch or necromancy altogether. And Spear's brainwashing didn't exactly last very long, as the person who controlled him ended up dying because he wasn't paying attention. This leaves Spear as sort of a decaying corpse, wandering around this terrifying world and seemingly still capable of surviving even any threat. But if you've seen the trailer for how season 3 will go, this entire season might culminate in Spear eventually taking on Fang. And this wouldn't be the first time they butted heads, but they are shown to be kind of equal combatants at times. And I'm genuinely pretty nervous that this time when they confront each other, one of them's bound to die. Whether it be Spear, who was already falling apart being a corpse, or Fang and trying to defend the rest of his and Spear's family altogether. Part of me thinks Fang will be able to recognize Spear at some point, but I don't know if that will be due to his detriment or not. Because while Fang may recognize Spear and hesitate, Spear could be too far gone to actually hesitate in killing Fang. But there is hope, as despite the fact he's a wandering corpse, there's glimpses of his memories still coming back into play. Unfortunately, we don't know if his memory of a T-Rex killing his original family is gonna make him more angry when he happens to come across Fang. All we can do is cross our fingers that Spear will start to remember more moments he had with Fang. And I don't know how easy that's gonna be, considering it looks like the Herald of the Fire Demon is also making a return. And not only that, but it appears in the small moment we saw of him in the trailer, he's about to encounter Mira, or someone who seems to look like Mira. But what do you guys think? Did the Viking tribe end up taking over Mira's old village and burning it to the ground? Or did they get attacked after they took it over by potentially the Herald of the Fire Demon himself, potentially returning to finish the job? And how do you think the confrontation between both Spear and Fang is bound to go down? Either way, let me know who you think would win down below. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day. Appreciate the feedback. And remember, if Spear ever regains enough consciousness to take his revenge on hell itself, then he really will live up to the Doom Guy comparison.
It was an accident, but he made me do it. I didn't want to kill him. I did it. I had to. I had no other choice. I wouldn't even keep you as a slave in my empire.
Go to everything in your path! Make them see invincible! Make them fear invincible! Make them hate! You were given orders, and yet I find this planet unprepared for the arrival of our Viltrum Empire. Viltrumite heart. Show me your power. Show me your range.
This has been an immense joy. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how fast you are. I can see the future. You don't live to see tomorrow.